Allah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Bijan, you know you have to be the one that says salam first. Don't wait for me. So when you say it loud, it hits the hearts.
All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Welcome to Friday Night Live. And we already see the audience sending messages. Thank you so much for joining. And I hope you guys are all doing well. And inshallah, you guys are fasting. If you haven't fasted today or tomorrow, you'll be fasting. 10th of Muharram. We have a special Friday Night Live program tonight. I hope everyone's smiling. If you haven't been smiling yet, you're going to be smiling and you're going to be joyful tonight.
Whenever you see Bijan, they smile. It brings them out. And mashallah, a lot of these brothers and sisters that are here, they just came from our Arabic intensive class. So for those of you that came from the Arabic intensive class, a shout out to you. May Allah bless you. Sister Marina, I see you. A lot of you that were there, you guys are consistent. You've been here since 6:30, 7 o'clock. So inshallah, that was more intense. This will be more relaxed. This will be the relaxed session, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Should we get ready?
How are you doing, my man?
Alhamdulillah, we're doing good, man. Bijan.
You taught a class for a couple of hours. Now you're here.
Alhamdulillah.
You think you still got fuel in the tank?
I mean, we have a little bit left.
MashaAllah, man. May Allah reward you for all the work.
We got this right here. You know,
coffee.
It was hard because we were fasting, but now when 9 o'clock hit, alhamdulillah, one of our students brought me coffee, so it was good.
Alhamdulillah, brothers and sisters, welcome everyone. Inshallah, tonight, Mufti Abdul has arranged a very special program. We have a man who is known to be the face of Smile2Jannah, and also Brother Tarek. He is a very famous munshid from Egypt, and he is world-renowned artist. MashaAllah. أهلا وسهلا أخونا طارق.
أهلا وسهلا. كيف حالك؟
كيف الحال؟ كيف الصحة؟ كيف الأخبار؟
أنا بخير الحمد لله والله الحمد لله.
أنت مقيم في مصر؟
نعم مقيم في مصر نعم.
أهلا وسهلا. كيف الأحوال أحباب مصر كلهم؟
والله طيبين. كلهم بخير الحمد لله ونحن نحبكم أيضا.
كيف أثر هذا المرض الكوفيد عندكم؟
يعني شوية هو أثر على الكثير من البلدان العربية وغير العربية، حتى عندكم في أمريكا نفس الشيء أيضا أثر هذا المرض بشكل كبير جدا على مصر.
اللهم احفظكم واحفظنا جميعا.
Just quickly translating for the people, right, Bijan?
I will. I'm asking our guest, our artist, how he's doing. He's right now coming live from Egypt. أي منطقة في مصر كنت تسكن فيه؟
في القاهرة.
He's coming live from Cairo, Egypt. I'm asking him how the situation in Egypt is right now. He's saying about, especially during COVID, he said same thing everywhere else, and all the Arab Muslim communities around the world have been suffering, and just like we are in America. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep him safe, keep his family safe.
We have Brother Tarek, who is from Egypt, so obviously the Wi-Fi sometimes may get weak. So I want to give I want to preface our session by saying that if the Wi-Fi starts lagging or delaying, you can still hear his voice. So inshallah, please bear with us. And secondly, it is 2 a.m. in Egypt, and inshallah he wants to start before his Wi-Fi starts acting up. So inshallah, Brother Tarek, Muhammad, we want to thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for joining so late at night. Your friend, one of your close friends, Muhammad Yusuf, joined us 1 month ago, and today we have you. Inshallah, when COVID ends, we'll have you in the country of America, and we'll do things together live. So for now, inshallah, please bless us with your voice and tell us what you're going to sing before the Wi-Fi goes bad. And Brother Zeeshan, we see you commenting and trying to hype yourself up, but I appreciate that. Hype us up too. That's Smile2Jannah. That's Brother Zeeshan. He's in the back.
Inshallah, we're going to have a brother Mohamed Tarek recite some poetry for us. If you have some requests, you can put them in the chat box. We all love you. نحن نحبكم هنا في أمريكا. ونستمع النشيد الذي ما شاء الله بينت بها بلغة جميلة وصوت رائعة. Alhamdulillah, we are so blessed to have you and sing for us. So we won't delay anymore. Please welcome our artist tonight, Brother Mohamed Tarek from all over Cairo, Egypt. Bismillah.
Bismillah.
في 1030 واحد.
طب يلا. كل القلوب. طيب المايك بقى ونسيب الموبايل. استنى كده. كل القلوب إلى الحبيب تميل، ومعي بهذا شاهد ودليل. أما الدليل إذا ذكرت محمدا صارت دموع العاشقين تسيل. يا سيد الكونين يا علم الهدى، هذا المتيم في حماك نزيل. لو صادفتني من لدنك عناية لأزور طيبة والنخيل جميل. لعلي أراه حبيب الله وقلبي معاه حبيب الله. لعلي أراه أفوز رضاه وقلبي معاه حبيب الله. جميل ما له ثاني بأخلاق وإحسان، وفاز بقربه فضل ورد الحب عرفان. رمضان يا رمضان يا نفحة الرحمن، رمضان يا رمضان شهر جود وغفران. رمضان يا رمضان يا نفحة الرحمن، رمضان يا رمضان شهر جود وغفران. كل عام يأتي زائر ليته دوما يطول، دائما يحمي البشائر كلنا يرجو القبول. تبسم للحياة تساءل قل أين الطريق، لا تحزن تفاءل هو الله يرضيك. تبسم للحياة تساءل قل أين الطريق، لا تحزن تفاءل هو الله يرضيك. توكل على الله يهديك النجاح، لا ترجو سواه حي على الفلاح. هيا هيا إلى الله هيا هيا إلى الله هيا هيا إلى الله قم واطلب رضاه. الله الله رضا الله الله رضا الله 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 رضا الله به تحلو الحياة، به تحلو الحياة.
جميل جدا جميل جدا ما شاء الله تبارك الله، والله نورت قلوبنا ما شاء الله، وهذه المجلس على الانترنت كلهم يستفيد منك.
أنا سعيد جدا بوجودي معكم والله في هذا اليوم، أنا سعيد جدا والله.
بارك الله. We are so happy to have brother Mohamed Tarek here, and he's also saying he's very happy to be here. ما شاء الله. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى دائما يديم عليك هذه التبسم الجميل إن شاء الله.
اللهم آمين يا رب. اللهم آمين.
Bijan, were you surprised by his voice? Because I was.
Oh, he was beautiful. Is he not done? Is he? We got to hear more.
No, we have more, but mashallah.
I don't want to talk. نحن نمسك عن الكلام.
Alhamdulillah. So right now it's you.
بسم الله. If you can have your volume a little louder, الصوت ممكن صوت عالي. شوية عالي، شوية عالي.
نقلل الصوت أو نعلي الصوت؟
نعلي الصوت.
نعلي الصوت قليلا
شوية.
بس جرب
كده أعلى حاجة.
لا ما هو مش ما يصفرش، بس جرب. قرب المايك شوية من بقك. قرب المايك شوية من بقك كده.
طب مولاي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
ماشي.
يلا.
ابعد شوية وقرب المايك.
مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. محمد سيد الكونين والثقلين. محمد سيد الكونين والثقلين والفريقين من عرب ومن عجم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. يا نبي سلام عليك، يا رسول سلام عليك، يا حبيب سلام عليك، صلوات الله عليك. ويا نبي سلام عليك، يا رسول سلام عليك، يا حبيب سلام عليك، صلوات الله عليك. أنت نور الله فجرا، جئت بعد العسر يسرا، ربنا أعلاك قدرا، يا إمام الأنبياء. أنت في الوجدان حي، أنت للعينين ضي، أنت عند الحوض ري، أنت هاد وصفي. يا حبيبي يا محمد صل على النبي وتبسم، ده النبي تبسم وتبسم، ده النبي تبسم. اللهم صل عليه، صلوا عليه، شفيع الأمة. بذكر الرسول تشحذ الهمة، يا ربي بجاه النبي أزح الغمة، يا ربي بجاه النبي أزح الغمة. صلوا على الهادي البشير حبيب البدر المنير، شفيعي عند القدير. صلوا عليه، صلوا بأحلى الكلام، رسولي خير الختام، حبيبي بدر التمام. صلوا عليه، صلوا على الهادي البشير حبيب البدر المنير، شفيعي عند القدير. صلوا عليه، صلوا بأحلى الكلام، رسولي خير الختام، حبيبي بدر التمام. صلوا عليه، صلوا عليه، شفيع الأمة. بذكر الرسول تشحذ الهمة يا ربي بجاه النبي أزيح الغمة يا ربي بجاه النبي أزيح الغمة.
ما شاء الله تبارك الله. صلوا على النبي. اللهم صل على محمد.
Muhammad.
عليه الصلاة.
Everyone, please just let's give a good, strong Allahu Akbar for Brother Muhammad, and also send salawat upon the Prophet ﷺ. After his entire poem is encouraging us to send salawat in different ways, and I think those that understand it are encouraged, and those that don't understand the beauty of voice, and they're encouraged as well, inshallah.
Mufti Sahib, I think we got to bring this man every day, because when you do live programs, we get 100, 200, maybe max 300 people live. We only got 1,000 people watching us right now on Facebook and YouTube. And Brother Mohamed Tarek and his beautiful voice.
Of course,
Thank
Brother
you.
Zeeshan, that's why they came.
Zeeshan, we got this audience here. MashaAllah. We have some requests from the audience.
We have Brother Muhammad has one more nasheed he can do for us, because Brother Zeeshan is late for him as well. So if you can just choose one of those three. So you had Qamarun, ya Hanana, and there was one more that was a request as well. Any of these, if you feel
he can do both of them with some courses of both of them.
as a medley.
كلاهما بعض
نعم نعم.
Jazakallah khair. We'll listen to you, Habibi.
And نعم.
There's also Jamalu.
جماله يا جماله. ممكن بعد قمرا.
يلا inshallah we have a few minutes, inshallah you can do whatever.
يا حنانة أيضا يا حنانة قليل منها وقليل جزء منها نحن نستفيد ونستمع منك. بارك الله.
قمر قمرون قمرون قمر سيدنا النبي قمرون وجميل وجميل سيدنا النبي وجميل قمرون قمر سيدنا النبي قمرون وجميل وجميل سيدنا النبي وجميل وكف المصطفى كالورد ينادي الله الله وعطرها يبقى إذا مست أيادي الله الله وكف المصطفى كالورد ينادي الله الله وعطرها يبقى إذا مست أيادي الله الله وعم نوالها كل العباد وعم نوالها كل العباد وعم نوالها كل العباد حبيب الله يا خير البرايا قمرون قمر سيدنا النبي قمرون وجميل وجميل سيدنا النبي وجميل يا جمال يا جمال سيدنا النبي يا جمال يا جمال يا جمال سيدنا النبي يا جمال يا جمال يا جمال سيدنا النبي جمال وكف المصطفى كالورد ينادي وعطرها يبقى إذا مست أيادي يا جمال وكف المصطفى كالورد ينادي وعطرها يبقى إذا مست أيادي يا جمال وعم نوالها كل العباد يا جمال حبيب الله يا خير البرايا يا جمال يا جمال يا جمال سيدنا النبي يا جمال يا جمال يا جمال سيدنا النبي يا جمال صلى الله عليه وسلم.
تكبير، الله أكبر.
ما شاء الله، ما أحسنت نورتنا.
الحمد لله.
أيضا حرتي تستمع ومن صوتك الجميل. الحمد لله.
الحمد لله. الحمد لله.
Brother Muhammad, Allah, you us and everyone, so many people just saying MashaAllah, Allahu Akbar, and enjoying your voice. Inshallah, we bring you on again soon. And alhamdulillah, your Wi-Fi did not delay, so it worked out perfect. Alhamdulillah, min du'aik, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah khair. Bijan, we should let him go.
we should let him go.
We're going to bring you back again inshallah. مراراً.
إن شاء الله نحن في انتظارك إن شاء الله مرة أخرى.
إن شاء الله بإذن الله. بإذن
الله.
الله.
شرفتنا بارك الله فيك.
Muhammad, when you leave, just don't press N, just leave. Inshallah, if you close it, it'll be fine.
Don't press X.
Okay.
Allah yabarak feek. Bijan, that was beautiful, mashallah. You took care of business. It's almost as good as
you think I can sing like that?
Almost as good as you. Just you needed some vocal lessons from you.
Should I do it?
No.
Yeah, should I do it? MashaAllah, he was excellent. He was so good. MashaAllah.
Go, Bijan, you were saying?
I said I wish we can have him longer, but inshallah, if you can come back and bless us. People around, we know the people here in America, our main audience here, America, Canada, and Europe, across the world, whoever's watching, we have people watching from all across the world. If you can state the city, the state, the country you're watching from, so even our guests that are coming on live can appreciate your presence. We have people from all across the world. Brother Mohamed Tarek can see you where you came from, and also also appreciate your presence. So everybody, we're gonna have someone coming on. He's recognized to be Smile2Jannah.
Yes, but his name is Brother Zeeshan Ali. Inshallah, he's joining us next. I would request him if he can turn his camera on. He was waiting very patiently, and it's very late for them there. Bijan, it's 2 a.m. Now it's 2:27 there, so it's late for them. I know it's hard, so early in the morning or so late at night. Either way, but Brother Zeeshan, if you can hear us, if you can turn your camera on, inshallah, we're planning to bring you on.
Right now we have people from Kenton, San Antonio, Dearborn, Toledo. There's a lot of people watching from New York, so alhamdulillah, people all across, in Pakistan, London, Ontario. I thought that was London, England, but London, Ontario. Welcome, London, Ontario. We love the people in London. Ahlan. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, wa alaikum assalam.
How are you doing, Brother Zeeshan?
Yes, alhamdulillah. I'm
Did he make
doing
you feel a
good.
little insecure, the early artist?
Pardon?
Did he make you feel a little insecure? He was all buffed up, good looking. What happened there?
He was. I don't know. I was dozing in and out of sleep. So I think you guys smashed it. Another half an hour. You said, thought it was 10 minutes.
Brother Zeeshan, the brother just kept reading, man. I was trying to stop him.
How are you doing, Zeeshan bhai?
I'm doing tired. That's how I'm doing.
What time is it? What time is it in your part in your country?
It's 2:30 past midnight.
We're gonna have to change.
And I'm on a podcast.
Yeah.
We're gonna get you done by 3 o'clock, Brother Zeeshan, inshallah. Brother Zeeshan, let's jump right into it, inshallah. First of all, before we start anything else, what's up with the name Smile2Jannah? How did you come up with that, and why isn't it just your channel name Smile2Jannah? How did that happen?
It's just a mission statement, isn't it? I mean, making people smile and hopefully educating them at the same time. And yeah,
Is that
just hopefully getting them to Jannah, isn't it? Not the other place.
not the other place? MashaAllah.
That's the
Zishan,
hellfire.
just in case someone
Just
didn't know.
just for the viewers that are confused.
But Zishan, where are you joining us from? I want the viewers know. People might not know.
Not the hellfire.
Not
I'm joining you from the UK, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. In which city?
Huh?
Which city?
London.
MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. Bajan, we just had on Mufti Adam Kawthari from London as well. We had on Sheikh Hassan Ali recently as well from England. So I guess the England guys are, mashallah, everyone wants a piece of them. So may Allah bless you guys for joining us and giving us your time in the middle of the night.
So there's so many things. There's so many things that we have to learn from them. They have been. Islam has been in England and Europe for much earlier than United States and Canada, from the aspect of active engagement. So much we can learn from them, their institutions, and so much they can learn from us also. But alhamdulillah, we are so fortunate to have Brother Zeeshan. We want to thank him for coming on so late. As everyone can see, he's exhausted. 2:30. Who wants to come in front of a screen live at 2:30 at night? And he's been generous and kind and graceful enough to accommodate our time. So please, everybody on the chat, please welcome him and give him some love and make him feel comfortable. So here we are on Smile2Jannah. You have a very strong following on social media and you do a lot of videos. I've seen many of your videos, mashallah. A lot of my students also watch your videos. What inspired you to get into the media and influence as a Muslim influencer on media? I see there was a lot of people doing it already. What inspired you to do it, and what has come out of it?
Loads of things. I'd say. Where do I start? I mean, this is in no particular order. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a teacher, so when we speak to our kids and we talk about, these sorts of things, they don't necessarily take us seriously. So, I mean, we tell them, look, we warn them about social media, we warn them about these things, but they feel we're out of touch. And I guess when you're in that kind of school or madrasa environment, there's you get kind of pigeonholed. You may be able to bring more to the table. Pardon?
I think narrow-mindedness, sometimes it happens.
No. What I'm saying is, these kids, when they see us, because they see us in one setting, they assume that we are like one-trick ponies. That's all we can do, and they only see us in the maktab, madrasa, or Islamic school environment. So they assume, oh, that's it. That's all this person really knows. He or she doesn't necessarily understand our struggles. And yeah, when I think YouTube and social media is a way that you can kind of show them your diversity, you can show that your other talents as well. And many of us, mashallah, some of us are good at writing, some of us are good at empathy, some of us are good at inviting people at 2:30 at midnight on their podcast. We all have
our thing.
we all have our strengths and weaknesses. So that was one thing. The other thing was I was helping the shuyukh, locally, and helping them with their content. But I noticed it was like we were just preaching to the preached, and it wasn't necessarily reaching the people that it needed to reach. So I mean, the bayans, they reach pretty much a kind of consistent crowd, or people that actively search for this sort of stuff. However, in order to reach the people that need it the most, you have to cater for them, and you have to somewhat dilute the message. I mean, dilute, not compromise. There's a difference here. Yeah, diluting the message, but not compromising the essence. So yeah, I think that was the thing. It was just frustration that people were becoming more and more distant from the deen, and we were trying the same technique over and over again. They say the sign of a foolish person is he or she does the same thing twice, expecting different results. So I mean, if you're getting the same results, it's time to change the strategy. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, comedy is it's a no-brainer. I mean, it traverses and transcends countries and boundaries and cultures. That's the beauty of comedy. I mean, you can say the harshest thing, but I mean, if it's done in a joke, people will
You can
they'll
get away
take it.
with
I
it.
mean, you guys, when you're on WhatsApp, any message you write, like I can say anything bad to you, but if I end the sentence with a lol, the other person's like, oh, he's just he's just joking. He's brother just joking, you know. He's just doing the jokes.
The jokes.
you know, people don't know. People who do know you know how funny you are. So there's some people who tonight might not know your work and they don't know how funny you are. A lot of times, our audience, no disrespect to the scholars and no disrespect to our elders, they do such a great job, and it's not always suitable for a scholar to stand on the pulpit at Jum'ah, crack a joke here, mama joke, baba joke there. They don't do it because they just feel like that.
Mama joke, baba joke. What sort of jokes are these?
You never know.
What's a
Um,
baba joke?
you're gonna tell us. We don't know. We're not the joke guys. We're serious people.
Hey, that's better than my content. If I was on a video going mama joke, baba joke, I think that would get a laugh. You should write that down, bro.
He's giving it to you. It's all yours.
That's some content right there.
Don't worry. There's no copyright on my content. It's nothing special. They
Yeah,
so
same. I don't have copyright either.
Brother Zeeshan has one tool that today the youth are looking for, and the audience, even sometimes adults look for. There's this huge
And
gap. Adults too, like sometimes when someone it says something in a humorous manner, the youth are like, oh man, this guy understands us. He knows that we're looking for something that can intrigue us in a joking manner, and because if you think about it, I mean, we don't want to slice Islam in an old-fashioned manner, which they've heard years after years. I'm not saying it's outdated but the presentation can be, you use the word diluted. What's some form of interaction and some details and some humor, make them smile? Why not? Like you said, smile to Jannah. We can take people smiling to Jannah rather than crying to Jannah. Like we don't have to have people in the state of fear, always like, ittaqullaha haqqa tuqati. You could also smile to Jannah like the way, fear God, smile to Jannah. And the Prophet ﷺ, I'm sure you know this, people know this, the Prophet ﷺ was always smiling. Yeah, there are narrations where لا تكثر الضحك, don't laugh too much, فإن كثرة الضحك تميت القلب, that excessive laughing will kill the person's heart. But of course, that's laughing over dunya, laughing over just constant laughing and laughter. So you provide an alternative, and I'm sure a lot of the young scholars who are raised in the West tried to do that. Sheikh Abdul Wahab, my brother who's here, he tries to be funny, but he's not. He's not funny.
Zeeshan, I watched a video. I'm trying to get it, but it's not happening yet. I need some training. But in all honesty, mashallah, my older brother Sheikh Abdullah, the chat will tell you he can crack a few jokes as well, and he gets it going. Sometimes it gets a little it gets a little messy, but he brings it back and he makes people laugh. May Allah bless you, Bajan, for always making people laugh and making people smile.
I don't do it on purpose. It's
Natural. Okay, but Zeeshan Ali, we want you to speak, obviously.
I think that's the beauty of comedy. There's so many ways. Sometimes even when you tell a dead joke, it's funny because it's dead. You know what I'm saying? Or sometimes because you're speaking about a serious matter, even if you do a rubbish joke, because it comes amongst seriousness, and there's such a kind of there's a change in tone of the entire discourse. People appreciate that joke more. Yeah, for example, the Mufti Menk jokes. I mean, the Tom and Jerry ones. People going crazy over them. But if you were to do it, if a stand-up comedian was to do it on a stage, people would be like, "Well, what's with this guy?" You know what I'm saying? So it depends. Like in a bayan, you can get away with certain stuff.
You can get away with
say.
But Zeeshan, while you started your discussion, you mentioned something I didn't know about you, that you're actually a school teacher.
Yeah.
You teach as
A apple, B for banana.
A for apple, B for banana. That's awesome, mashallah. So which year did you get into this YouTube stuff? And the real question, the real topic of today's discussion is the digitization of da'wah, right? So the idea is like how da'wah, of course, we need to have foot soldiers that are on the floor, getting to people, doing the work that the foot soldiers. And then we also need to have people that are supplementing.
use the word soldiers because we in
Yeah.
Miftaah, are very peaceful.
Otherwise,
We, we
there's
will,
going to be some far right guys tuning in saying, "These people talk about the jihad."
do you have
He's Muslim talking about the jihad.
do you have a do you have a message for the far right people? Can you say something to them? They're watching right now.
Yeah. I'm saying we're Muslims, but we're not talking about the jihad. This guy, he's just doing his thing like a chicken wing.
All right.
Not bad. But the question I was going to ask is, do you still go out in the public and meet kids and connect to them at that personal level, and do you find that to be effective as well? Because sometimes when we get imbalance, it's like you think that this is the only way, but do you find that both of them are necessary? And how often do you engage in like the street, like going out in the masjid or in the streets or meeting the youngsters? Does that still happen, or are you so occupied by this that you don't have time for that?
9/11.
That's when it
I
stops.
think when 9/11 happened, I think people were very kind of intimidated by anything Islamic. And because when 9/11 happened, I was in secondary school, so even though we would go to the mosque and that, and we'd carry on just speaking and talking, people became more apprehensive when it came to seeking knowledge. They stopped sending their kids to madrasa, and even when you speak to somebody about Islam, they'd be dubious and they'd be like, "Oh, this person wants us to do the jihad. They want us to join this group. What sect are you from, brother? Are you from one of the are you this sect or are you that sect?" And the person's just talking about iman and yaqeen, you know what I'm saying? Just keeping it back to just keeping it to basics. So I think that I think the beauty of online was that I guess it gives you more open platform to kind of show what you're about and to win people's kind of
Their hearts
I,
back.
I, I- yeah, I think loyalty, I guess, or appreciation, such that I think the beauty is that before, when you'd have to go to people to give dawah, now they come to you wanting a picture with a guy with a beard. Now, this was something that was unheard of. When somebody wants to come to you and take a picture because you're making halal content, I think that's remarkable. And I mean, don't get it twisted. Like the dawah is face to face dawah. You know what I'm saying? That's sitting at the feet of scholars and doing things. I mean, the barakah in that method is next to none. I mean, who are we kidding when we think that this is a replacement for that? So this it's a means, isn't it? It's a means of reaching the people that don't get reached. And then when they approach you, hopefully you'll inspire them. And then, yeah, you speak face to face, and face to face just has another connection, to be honest. I mean, we as human beings are supposed to naturally be meeting face to face. I mean, now, even with you guys, like when I'm looking, I'm conscious of your movements. Obviously, if I was there in person, I actually limit when I'm talking based upon the other person's body language, because I know if they're getting a bit thingy, I'll cut it short, or I'll maybe bring a joke in. I mean, as human beings, that's what we do. We thrive off the other person's signals. So yeah, I mean, definitely, this is like a stepping stone,
To
and
the
it
next level.
encourages. Yeah, and then obviously if I meet people, it's more intimate. Yeah, a person is able to ask you questions, or they'll be like, "Oh, bro, I want to do this, I want to do that," but they can't necessarily say that on a video. They can't. Yeah, so when they meet me in person, then they can tell me their problems, how they can't tie their shoelaces, or how they when they pick their nose, they like to stare at the bogey afterwards. I mean, everybody has their own trials and tribulations, isn't it? Some people, they're going through, they can't get into secondary school. Some people, they're struggling to tie their shoelace. I mean, it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? Hold tight with a rewind.
He's got to connect at every level.
And when you teach your kids at school, do you crack jokes with them? What really inspires them? How do you connect with them as a person, with your children, with your students? How do you connect with them so well?
Brother asked a very good question. He says, how do you connect with the kids in the school? I'll ask you, if you're alive.
Are you copying Zakir Naik?
Whoa! I did do no name drops right there.
Oh my God!
Brother, he
Can you-
asked a very good question. He says, how do you connect with the people in the school? I ask you, if you're alive, if you look in Book of John, chapter 2, verse 3, there is absolutely no mention of talking to the kids in the school. Hope that answered the question. When it comes to the kids in the school, to be honest,
Yeah, who else can impersonate? But Zeeshan, who
When
else
I,
can
when I when I talk to Dr. Zakir Naik, I'm going to tell him you did that. So you better be ready.
I think he knows. I think he
Right away,
knows.
that's it. It was nice. That was a good
I
imitation.
think I think he thought it was Ali Dawah that did it. I was like, oh, for God's sake, mate! I think Ali Dawah's better looking than me. But that's a good question. I mean, at school, the thing is, they're kids at the end of the day, isn't it? And they're there for education. So I think the primary kind of thing, like if you're too loose with them and you start doing too many jokes, then they don't take you seriously. You know what I'm saying? And kids at that age, they need to kind of they need to know boundaries. So yeah, once the boundaries have been set, then to be honest, I can't not do jokes. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't. Like I
You can't,
try,
you can't be
but
serious
it's
for long.
just yeah, it's such a good tool, you know what I'm saying? Like it's too good of a tool to waste. And sometimes the kids they just do some funky stuff. Like you have to crack jokes, you know what I'm saying? And life's too miserable as it is with every other day something happening. So you gotta make fun of it, you know what I'm saying? Just to kind of
survive?
Lighten lighten
just
up.
to survive. You know what I'm
But
saying? Hold that with the rewind.
but Zeeshan, so like how do you discipline the kids then if you're always joking with them? What's the process like?
It's just typical school stuff, isn't it? Like here, obviously, you got detentions and
So you still
uh,
they're able to follow you. They still listen to you when you say those things. They don't just take you as like
they have
a
to because yeah, because I mean, to be honest, I'm professional. Anything that I do, the thing is, I'm here to win. You know what I'm saying? Like, although I've been doing Smile2Jannah for 6 years, before that, I've worked on other channels.
Hmm.
I mean, I teach, I do other things, and whatever I'm doing,
You want to do
I
good.
mean, this is our tradition. Yeah, if you look in the history of the Islamic civilization, the our predecessors were polymaths. They were masters in multiple fields. You know what I'm saying? And even now, we claim, oh, we follow the Lord, whilst you guys don't. Then why is it that surely our actions, if we're doing the correct things, would have more barakah in it? But the problem is sometimes we self-sabotage. Yeah, we say, oh, maybe this, maybe that. But if you genuinely put time and work into it, how can a person that believes in Allah in this day of godlessness not win? You know what I'm saying? Like I just don't get it. You know what I'm saying? It's
I get it.
if you're genuinely doing your best, and that's the thing. Sometimes we need to analyze ourselves, and that's the thing. Like the same with YouTube. If you genuinely you put your thought into it and say, how can I reach these people while staying true to your faith and consistent? I'm telling you, you're gonna win. You're gonna win. It goes without saying, but sometimes we just don't believe. Yeah, we're constantly looking for people to blame, whether it's our families or whether it's society or whether it's the zamana, the time. Oh, but zamana, yes, hai yaar. Oh, it's the time, brother. Brother, it's the time, man. It's not the time. It's you. You're in the time. You're making the time. You know what I'm saying? You can change it. So yeah, man, that's what I would say. And hope that answers the question.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You've answered the question pretty well.
Okay, why no hats, no trainers?
The discussion on how we are so quick to blame the time. Zamana kharab hai, or technology
Anji.
is technology ka zamana hai. We blame the technology and stuff like that. It's
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
The,
Go ahead.
but Zeeshan, no, the technology stuff, right? So like do you have kids? You have children?
Yeah, I'm a kid, yeah.
No, no. I mean, if you have kids, do they have phones and they have these gadgets as well?
No, I first need to do the first step. I first need to get married in order to have kids. If I had kids before getting married, I think society frowns upon that.
You,
No,
you, you gonna be smiling to
First
Jannah.
of all, I think I would have just flipped science on his head. They'd probably do experiments on me. How's this guy churning out kids when he's not even married?
Allah get you married soon, Habibi. And inshallah make you keep smiling. If
I
you,
mean,
Do you think you'll be smiling as much after marriage also, or you'll be...
I think I think I'll be smiling more.
inshallah. Inshallah. But then you're asking me a question. Go ahead.
I was saying,
I
I was
think you were
saying,
saying about technology. I think that's a very good point, bro. Because you know what? If you look we're millennials at the moment. Before that, I think there's boomers or whatnot. I mean, each generation, there's always something new that's introduced. I mean, we shouldn't be those people that are constantly just bad mouthing anything new that happens. I mean, technology has so much to offer. Yeah, I mean, at the press of a button, you can put out a post that can inspire thousands of people. Yeah, as a believer, you can solve someone's having a bad day, you put up a post. I get sometimes you put up a video or a post, people say, "Yo, that's really cheered me up, or that's really helped me, bro." Blah blah blah, mashallah. So in that sense, I would say technology itself, there's nothing wrong with it. But just like anything else, you need to have discipline, you need to have control. Too much of anything is not good for you. Too much sugar messes up your system. Too much almonds can kill you because each almond has cyanide in it. And if you overdose on almonds, you can die from cyanide poisoning. Yeah. Bananas, they got potassium. If you eat too many bananas, you get potassium poisoning. You know what I'm saying? So if you breathe too much oxygen, yeah, your body can't cope with the surge of O2 in your body, and you can't take it. So it's the same with social media. Yeah. You just need to. It's like cigarettes and alcohol. Yeah, we've got age limits to that. You have to be 16 or 18, depending on what country you're in. But there's no age limit to social media. But both release dopamine in the head. Both give you that high, you know? Oh, the good stuff. But they're getting that from the device. Yeah. They tap a like and they're like, whoa, the good stuff. But how is like a 9-year-old kid who, when they get a taste of the good stuff, how are you gonna wean him off that by saying, hey, kitab pad yara, kitab pad, sikh kuch. Yeah, read the book, learn something, son. What are you doing? And then and the son doesn't listen. You're like, you never listen to me, beta. Look at Choi Saab's son. Choi Saab's son listened to his father. You don't listen to father. Get out of the house. He said, no, I don't want to go, Dad. Well, I'm going to leave the house. I'm not coming back. I'm going Pakistan. No, Dad, don't go. Okay, then get off the social media. The next day, son's back on social media because you haven't dealt with the root of the problem. You're the dad that's bought him the, I don't know, Samsung S10 or whatever. I'm just losing count now. S10 or something. Flipping when he was 7-year-old. Like the guy was sticking crayons up his nose with his left hand, and he had a Samsung S10 on the right hand. You know what I'm saying? So I actually do think parents are to blame when it comes to this sort of stuff. Control your damn kids.
Mujahid.
Yeah, the first time, you know how sometimes when I joke around, I put you guys in an awkward situation where the jokes are.
Awkward situation right now.
Did I feel how you and Mufti Abdul Rahman feel, where the person is too funny and he puts you in that position in the back seat?
He's nice. I like you. You're nice.
He's still preaching though. Mashallah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. And so we got that part done. And so now we're asking, in this influence of social media, how many people do you think are not, how many subscribers do you have on your channel at the moment on Smile2Jannah?
A few thousand,
He acts like he doesn't know, but yeah, he's being humble. I think Smile2Jannah has more than 300,000 subscribers, Bijan.
MashaAllah. So I want the audience here to also learn about his channel. That's why I asked the question. So they could also go to that channel.
You ask a question.
I did ask you
a question.
Do that again.
The brother, he asked a weird question. He says, how many subscribers do you have? I ask you if you're on live. if I was to tell the brother how many subscribers I have, then people would think that I am being not very humble, and they would say that the brother has pride, and I don't think I have pride. Hope that answers the question.
But Zeeshan, man,
You're reckless, Zeeshan, but you're reckless.
he's right. Don't get us in trouble.
Can you
Well,
do? Can you do
Too late.
the president? Can you do the accent of the president of America?
Nah, I think I can only. I haven't worked on accents too much, but Dr. Zakir Naik, because I love him. Obviously, it's out of love and obviously out of respect and love and all that. I'm sure you guys know anyway. But yeah, I do his one very frequently.
mashallah.
MashaAllah.
But Jen, you were asking him that question about what were you gonna ask him about his the follow up with the subscribers?
Yeah, so you have 300,000 subscribers, and out of your subscribers, you've definitely seen you have inspired these youth, these children, these adults who are watching you all across the world. So, what does that motivate you when you hear a message back on the chat like, "Oh, Smile2Jannah guy, you've kind of helped me. I saw this from a different angle, like you were talking about." How does that inspire you and keep giving you motivation? And then you have the negativity that comes.
So let me get this straight. The question that you're asking is, when I see a good comment, does that motivate me?
Does that get you excited?
And when you see a bad comment, how do you react to it? Because
does a good comment get me excited? I mean, is there any other answer I can give apart from yes?
No, but in a sense, that does it really like make a difference? 'Cause some people don't get affected by it.
even negative comments, like it's not all about.
It depends, bro. It depends. Like, it depends what sort of comment you give. Like, if a person says, "Yeah, mashallah, keep them coming," that's one thing. But the more specific you are, the more. I mean, when you're scrolling, you pause and you're like, "All right, this guy's taken a minute to actually write a couple of sentences, show their appreciation." Like, yeah, I have to, because the thing is, I've spent ages creating that content. So when I'm putting it out there, I genuinely want to know how people feel. And if it's changed somebody, yeah, you're 100% right. Like, although I was cussing the question, but I see the depth to your question, because when you put certain content out there and it does affect people the way you wanted it to, you know it's hit the right spot, and then you can create more similar content tackling with that stuff. However, if it doesn't hit the spot, then naturally it's like the thing that I said at the start. I mean, doing the same thing, expecting different results doesn't make sense. So yeah, when I see that stuff, like someone's gone through something and they're like, "Yo, your videos helped me. Now I'm able to tie my shoelaces with ease, and I've got no issue whatsoever. It no longer phases me." You know what I'm saying? Like, I've helped that guy. Yeah, like that's
At any level,
I can sleep easy knowing he can tie his shoelaces now.
At any level, you're gonna help the guy. You help the guy. But Zeeshan, do you
like the shoelace discussion?
Pardon?
I say you really like the shoelace discussion.
Yeah. Simple, innit? Like, the scholars give the example of shoelaces. They say make dua even if it's for something as simple as tying the shoelaces.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wisdom right here. I'm not just a pretty face, bro. Is that to me? I'm like an onion.
I was actually hoping for that answer. You gave the accurate answer, mashallah. You know, the Prophet said, لِيَسْأَلْ أَحَدُكُمْ رَبَّهُ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَتَّى شِسْعًا عَلَيْهِ إِذَا انْقَطَعَ. Your shoelace breaks or rips, you need a new one. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Basic things. A lot of times youth will ask. A lot of times youth will ask, should I ask Allah for this? I feel embarrassed to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for better grades. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to turn to Him for every single moment of your life. Ud'u rabbakum. If you learn to take from Him in the small issues, you'll also be able to tap into His treasures for greater issues in your life.
So deep, bro. That last thing that you said, that's actually quite deep. I'm gonna repeat that once more. If you can ask Allah for the small things, then you'll feel more confident to ask about the bigger issues. That's deep, bro.
Yeah,
I think sometimes, you know, when we make deep points, we rush to the next point too quickly, but I think that's good. I think because a lot of people, they don't know why to ask for small things, and I think you've kind of put that very nicely, mashallah. Beneficial for me as well. I haven't heard it like that as well.
I'm a part-time scuba diver, so I go deep sometimes.
Whew. God
was,
damn,
that was good. Huh? But you didn't expect that one.
Yeah.
man.
But Jen, that point that you made, Dishan
Don't
bhai.
be like a stretcher and get carried away, though. Yeah.
No, I don't. I'm already inflated. Just need to get a pin to pop me. You know what that pin? And my wife always has a pin just there hanging there. Pew! Hijab pin.
Ooh.
Knock it out.
Dishan bhai,
Too many of those.
Yeah.
alhamdulillah. Dishan bhai, I was gonna ask you like, what was like, this is I know we're getting to our end as well because it's late for you, but what has been the most difficult what's been the most difficult point in this job of yours? Like, what's been the hardest thing to do? Why is it lack of motivation, or is it just it's so much every day you're doing it? Has it ever dawned upon you that this is too much work? I don't need to do this, or this is really hard. It's hard to continue making this type of content, or are you always motivated by something specific? And I hope you are motivated by the idea of bringing people closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because at the end of the day, da'wah that with that motivation, with that ihtisab, even if it doesn't give that effect, is rewarding, right? Even if it doesn't bring someone closer to Allah, but if you have that purpose, inshallah, it'll be rewarding for you. But do you ever get tired? Do you ever lose motivation at all? Do you ever lose focus?
I'd be lying if I said no, but alhamdulillah, I would say I'm able to curb that because I know where I've come from. You know what I'm saying? And I regularly remind myself of my humble roots and the time where I'd be sitting or just before I'm going to bed when I was young, I'd raise my hands and I'd say, Ya Allah, I'm just unhappy with what I'm seeing. Use me to spread deen to the four corners of the globe. Because it's frustrating, when you see when you're learning about your religion, but you see people just doing zaba and sacrificing basic fundamentals of the religion. You see your religion being mocked and disgraced, primarily by Muslims. So, and you feel powerless. You go to your masjid and you speak to the people around you, and people don't want to speak. In your community, you don't feel valued. So, and you constantly make dua and you traverse and you start the social media journey. And eventually, when Allah does accept you and you do start reaching people, I don't think you should forget where you actually were and where Allah's brought you. And I think the story of Ayaz, I don't know, it's probably a long story. You guys probably know Sultan Mahmud Ghaznavi and Ayaz. They give these examples. And Ayaz, once he was caught, he kept going to the kind of cupboard at night, and the Sultan thought, I'm saying, that he's stealing. The people told
People's
the
life.
Sultan that he's stealing. Yeah, and then they kind of called him forward and said, "Do you go to that cupboard every day?" He said, "Yeah." "Okay, give us the key." And he's like, "No, no, I don't want to give the key. Give us the key." And then they took the key. They checked, and there was some raggedy old top and some crusty sandals there. And then he said, "Those were the clothes that I wore when I first came to your palace. And every now and then, I remind myself that the king, where you were when the king bought you and where you are now, and don't forget your place." So and I think even Umar radiallahu anh, he would, remember the times where I think his aunties would give him just a few dates just for, a whole day's work of just taking the goats or the sheeps, for grazing. So I think our tradition tells us that that's the best way to kind of keep grounded, and just remember that the time that you were powerless and you couldn't reach, and now Allah's given you this, and now you're going to feel tired. And sometimes, what I do, I actually look at these non-Muslims. I follow these motivational speakers regularly, and every day they're posting stuff on their Instagram, every day there's stuff on their stories, and I'm like, these people are so motivated when it comes to entrepreneurship or money and stuff like that. And we can't be motivated for what we have. We've got so much to offer, but we undervalue it. So I think sometimes you look at people, that's what they say, isn't it? Sometimes look at the people below you, and that will motivate you. And that's why I spend my time, like, even when you guys were, keeping me waiting for half an hour, I was actually listening to a he's actually a Bollywood singer, and he had an interview in which he was talking about mental health, and he used to get millions of views. And it's just interesting for me because I feel when you have these case studies, the youth relate to them more. So whenever speaking to the youth, people that are watching and that they might have kids or whatnot, or they might not know what Smile2Jannah is. I mean, that's kind of the thing that I've noticed that hits even as a school teacher, as a YouTuber. I think if I talk about depression, people are going to be like, yeah, what does he know? But when I talk about, say, Lady Gaga talking about depression, Kendrick Lamar talking about depression, Kanye West, kaun khade ho jate, people are like, yo, oh, we know these people. Oh, what did you say? And then when you link it to the religion, then people appreciate it more because they feel you. It's not like you're at one level and they're at another level. Sometimes when you talk about things that are relevant, and that's key. The thing is, our scholars, mashallah, have so much to bring to the table. And I don't blame them per se. A lot of people point fingers. Scholars are doing what they have, I mean, what they've done. Yeah, it's the same. Like somebody goes to university, they become an academic. But then it's the job of their students to take that message and mold it in a way that the people are going to be more receptive to it. So I
Relate
think
to it.
that's key, making the message more relevant to the people. Message doesn't have to change. Like there's
And
one scholar who's talking about
without compromising, like you said, without compromising your principles.
of course, that goes without saying. I mean, I would owe a lot of kind of my stability in what I'm doing to the suhbat of ulama. Like I spent my early years with the ulama, the scholars, fixing the fundamentals. It was only when the fundamentals were sorted, then I felt confident enough. And even now, I go to them, I sit with them, and I'm saying like khidmat is a big thing, and people underestimate this khidmat of ulama. And even now in the dawah scene, I try to bring this and help other brothers in the scene. And we have so much, like our scholars have taught us so much, but I think we have done a disservice to them because we're trying to replicate their model. Like their model is good for their times. Now, like you mentioned, you ask many people, even many of the viewers watching, you ask them what's the biggest social media. Many people out there get it wrong. They don't realize TikTok is at the top. They still say stuff like Facebook or WhatsApp. No, it's TikTok. You need to know, like the viewers need to know. You can't just say, "Oh, this is ये ठीक नहीं है जी," or ठीक नहीं है, ये haram है, इसमें haram काम है, or this is not good, or this has haram in it. It may do, and you may be right, but that's not going that's not enough to turn the youngsters away from that. Just merely telling someone it's haram has I mean, that's not enough unless a person is really God conscious. Yeah, like they give the example of Hassan or Hussein radiallahu anh, whose I think maidservant spilled some hot soup or something on him, and immediately he was going to get angry, and then she recited the verses, and as she was reciting the verses, I think Hassan radiallahu anh immediately kind of responded because that's what they were. I mean, they were motivated by ayats and the revelation. Like that meant something to them. But today, unfortunately and sadly, Qala Allah, Qala Rasul doesn't work. When you start that, people switch off.
Oh yeah,
Obviously, I don't know the crowd that you guys are speaking to, but sometimes what I'll do is I'll mention the hadith, but I won't say I'll mention it from a secular source, and then I will reinforce it by saying, "Did you know the Prophet also said this as well?" But don't we sometimes linger on? I mean, there's a saying. They say, "Knowledge is knowing tomato is a fruit." Yeah, knowledge is knowing tomato is a fruit.
Tomato.
Wisdom, pardon?
We said tomato.
Yeah, tomato. Okay. Knowledge is knowing tomato is a fruit. Yeah. But wisdom is, sorry, this battery thing. Yeah. So knowledge is knowing tomato is a fruit, but wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit bowl, or sorry, in a fruit salad. So it's applying it, isn't it? Like knowledge is knowing that smiling is sunnah. Wisdom is not smiling at a funeral. You know what I'm saying? So we know the thing. Obviously, look at your audience, isn't it? Like if you're speaking to kids, yeah, and that kid doesn't come to the mosque, doesn't do this, you have to speak to him at his level. You have to, you know, use
Strategize.
some examples. I think that's key because we're very out of touch. And that's the key. A lot of us would become more relevant. And you guys are talking about cracking jokes and stuff, Masha. I think that's awesome. That's brilliant. Because if you think about it, like even like I sometimes get messages, like people get anxiety and they're like, yo, bro, like I watch lectures and stuff, but it's making me scared, like it's day of judgment and death and this and that. And I'm like, that's so true. I don't blame you because the weighting is off. Yeah, like we haven't weighted the two matters of fear and hope. There's supposed to be a balance, but unfortunately, because I was speaking to a few scholars as well, and they were saying this as well, that it's a system, isn't it? And when you join the dawah scene or when you start giving lectures, you do something that you've seen other people do. Yeah, it's just a norm. But nowadays, with the sort of depressing knowledge that we or the news that we hear regularly, I mean, you need to give people hope. You need to tell people that you understand. Like sometimes that's what these people need to hear. That sometimes, there's this very famous film. I know a lot of people, mashallah, are going to be pious, but this is a classic. It's called Good Will Hunting, yeah. And at the end of it, the culmination, when he sees the psychologist or therapist, the culmination or the thing that people remember from that film is the person who's receiving therapy is very hard-headed, but the therapist, all he says is, it's not your fault. Because he's gone through stuff with his family or whatnot, and he says to him, look, it's not your fault. He's like, yeah, I know. Hey, listen, it's not your fault. Yeah, I know that. Hey, it's not your fault. And he says it a number of times till the person really breaks down, starts crying. And crying is the realization that he's got a problem. So I think sometimes that's what people need to hear. Just hope. Like, all right, you're doing what you're doing, yeah. You've committed 99 sins or whatnot, but there's still hope. Yeah, there's still hope. You're not a goner, mate. Yeah, it's not like كلهم في النار في النار كلهم في النار. So it's not that sort of kind of thing. And I guess that's the kind of thing that I've kind of adopted. And mashallah, I've seen a lot of
Help.
khair in that. A lot of people have appreciated that. So I just wanted to share that with you, handsome, beautiful brothers.
But Jen, like, I mean, obviously you deal with a lot of kids too, and you deal with a lot of issues, day-to-day issues with these situations. How do you balance that? How do you know how to balance that with different people and different? Because doing it online is one thing, but doing it in person is easier in a sense, right? Doing it online, it's you don't know who's listening, who's not listening. But in person, Bijan, how do you balance that? How do you know when to give hope, when to kind of put someone?
I just want to piggyback off of what Zeeshan Ali was saying, is that there is this a notion that Islam is a very rigid the presentation of Islam at the mosque and the way it's presented in front of the families and the communities. It sounds like if you don't pray, you're going to burn in hell for 80 hukub, like so many years. And if you don't have a beard, this is going to happen. And if you don't wear hijab, this is going to happen. And if you listen to music, this is going to happen. And stuff like that. Just even the backbiting hadith is so scary. They're all true. They're all warnings. But brothers, sometimes we don't understand that these people at the Prophet's time made major mistakes. But when they made those mistakes, the Prophet ﷺ didn't meet them with a grin or with an aggressive personality. A man comes to the Prophet ﷺ and said, "You know what? I just on the way to the masjid, I just kissed a woman, right?" And I'm sure if he came to the Smile2Jannah, this guy would go, "Welcome, welcome." Like, all right, we got to take care of this business, right? I mean, if you met Zeeshan Ali, you're like, "Whoa, come here, naughty guy," But the reality is, the Prophet ﷺ, when he saw this person, he said, he wasn't like, "Oh, Omar, take out the whoop, take out the whoop." No, it never happened like that. Right away, he comes in. Prophet ﷺ said, "Hal sallayta ma'an nas?" Did you pray with the people? Again, I'm not giving a leverage to do this. That's not permissible. But the Prophet, when mistakes happen, he embraced these people with an opportunity of hope. Like what he was talking about. He said, "Did you pray Salat al-Asr?" He said, "Yeah, I prayed." He said, "Inna al-hasanat yudhibna as-sayyi'at." So Prophet ﷺ was always welcoming to people who are struggling. Now, if a person is struggling and comes to a masjid and the imam is like, "Oh, you imagine," just like if you just you imagine it, right? Like imam doesn't know, but the imam is saying, everybody that makes these mistakes, this is the problem, and there's like guilt. If you keep on telling your wife, your husband, your children, making them feel guilty for their mistakes and their mishaps, they're not going to want to listen to you anymore. Like you're cut off from them. Imagine an audience that's cut off from the imam. Imagine an audience that's cut off from the leadership of spiritual growth. They're like, I heard this, like, this is the same recording over and over. If you give a salah, typical salah talk, it's gonna be like, if you do miss salah, jahannam fin nari khalidina fiha abada. This is the punishment, which is true. There's punishment of hell. But when we saw the Prophet ﷺ have Sahaba, they miss salah. Sahaba miss salah. Prophet ﷺ, let's repent, don't do it again. And we had mistakes. So the Prophet ﷺ was a very excellent teacher with the smile, with the personality. It will lose in these leadership positions that we forget to humanize ourselves. And there's two things that humanize us very well: our tears and our cheers. I'll say it again: our tears and our cheers. How we smile with other people's smile, and how we weep at other people's emotions. This humanizes our personality with other people. When people do that, we can relate to you. Now, when's the last time you heard a sheikh laugh? Now that you're like, man, the sheikh is laughing. And there's another audience that's like, Astaghfirullah, Maulana Saab laughing. Shame on him. Not to laugh, not you laugh, not Imam. Like, it becomes other side of it. Of course, there's youth understanding. Youth are struggling. And if you're pushing them away, they're not listening to their parents, they're not listening to their teachers, and of course, even in discipline, there's like, okay, I want to give suspension and ground them or time out for my children. But there's another way of the Prophet ﷺ to love them, to give them compassion. So I find that very, very, the balance comes there where you have the discipline and then you have the love.
It's knowing what to apply in what situation. I think the brother asked a very good question, of course. He was like, how do you know when to do it? I think the key is just take some time to get to know the person.
Exactly.
Yeah, where is it coming from? Like, even online, when someone presents a problem, I try to, at least sometimes I call them, sometimes I say, give me a background. Yeah, and you can tell from their tone if they seem very hopeless or if they seem very kind of worried, and you can tell from the sin as well. Yeah, that this person requires hope, or from their tone or from their background. And once you know the person, for example, if somebody calls and says, brother, I'm really worried about the day of judgment and death and this and that. Now I know over here they need the opposite side. Yeah. Or if somebody's coming and be like, bro, my mother doesn't listen to me and I want to get married, then to them, you have to give them the perspective of the mother, because that's what they're lacking. Yeah. It's anything that's lacking, but you need to speak to the person first. And they may be too much on one side. So that's what you do. You kind of put your finger on the pulse, and you kind of you take time to analyze the problem first. I mean, even in science, there's a process called data collection. Even before releasing a product in marketing, they collect data first. But we fail to do that with other people. Like, I think my friend Dilly, he interviewed a very famous Pakistani rapper. Yeah. And he just took the time to kind of get to know the person. And I think I've done that with a few videos about some people, and people have appreciated that. Sometimes the very people that we look as the lowest in society, they are just a victim of their circumstance. And if you take the time to just get to know them, they could be a gangster selling drugs and doing all this, but just find out. Yeah, this is what therapists do. And I think it's a good model to kind of understand. Yeah, because even though people may not think therapy or this sort of stuff is something, or they may think it's taboo, get a therapy book or learn a bit about psychology, learn that stuff yourself, just so you know how your mind works. And that's what they do. They genuinely question the other person. Yeah. But we love sometimes, even our and I was a victim of this myself. Sometimes I genuinely used to think, if a person's not praying, they just need Sahih Hadith. So I just go through Bukhari, just write down all the Hadith, and then I'll go and quote it to my cousin. And then he would just be like, okay, inshallah, Pakistani, isn't it? So he was like, हाँ बहुत खूब, inshallah, inshallah, sahi bola. That's the typical kind of
Response.
Pakistani say, isn't it, from back home? So I mean that was the thing. But then I realized, like especially nowadays with some kids, so the best dawah is through action. Yeah. For example, um, you're eating. Yeah. And as you're eating, you don't need to tell them every little thing. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, and then you continue. Yeah. But the thing is, you have to notice the situation. Yeah. That's why I said about body language. If you see that sometimes when you say that people are going off, it's like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or even I think Umar radiallahu anhu, or one of the two, they would be walking and they would come across like a carcass or rubbish, and then they would just stop. And then when Sahaba would feel uncomfortable, then they would say, this is the reality of the dunya. Yeah.
Hmm.
So sometimes that's what you do. Like Habib, yeah, Habib Nurmagomedov, the MMA fighter, he said something really remarkable. Now, if, for example, and he's talking about just death, yeah. Now, if I upload a video on death, people aren't necessarily going to care about it. However, if I have a clip of Habib talking about it and then I build upon that, I think that will be more powerful because that marketing has been done by just a current affair. So even with kids, I think just sometimes not giving dawah intensely is the best. Like some people said, "Oh, brother, can you come for a podcast? What do you want to talk about? We've got youth." I said, "Let's just do a Q&A." Because if I'm talking about something, people are less likely, all right, you're not engaged. But if a kid asks a question and I'm answering it, they're more likely to listen now. You know what I'm saying? It's like a dawah stall. If somebody comes to a dawah stall, they're more likely to listen to your response rather than if you chase them. Be like, yo, you want a Quran? I'm a Muslim. I'm not going to be talking about the jihad. You want a Quran? Yeah. So then you're now having to prove your side of the argument, sort of thing.
Yeah,
So I think
You find that a lot in the Prophet ﷺ. He would pose questions from the Prophet to the Sahaba. He would say, "Atadri ma haqqullahi ala ibadi wa haqqul ibadi ala Allah." Do you know the right of the servant upon Allah and the right of Allah upon his slave? And he would ask this 3 times, and the Mu'adh ibn Jabal would say, "Allahu Rasulu a'lam." Allah knows best. And then the answer would come. The Prophet would grab a branch, shake it, say, "Why? Why am I doing this?" So the Prophet ﷺ did a lot of questioning. He would say, "Man yakhuduni ha'ulai kalimat فيعمل بهن أو يعلم من يعمل بهن." He said, "Who's going to take 5 things from me, learn it, practice, or just teach it to someone without, even if they don't practice?" And someone like, "Whoa, 5!" So they engage. He triggered their mind to be intrigued into what the Prophet was saying. Exactly what you're doing.
100%. Like, bro, like, sorry to interrupt, just before I forget, like, even imams, like, how many imams before preparing their Friday khutbah go on Google Trends and look at the things that have been searched that very day? Or how many people go on Twitter trends or YouTube trends? Now these platforms have made it so easy. Look at what people are searching for. Look at what's the discussion point. Look at the news, the popular news site CNN. I mean, you guys probably have, that's a rather relatively balanced compared to Fox
Fox,
and
Fox.
MSNBC, Fox or bull or cow or whatever animals you have ruling your media conglomerate. So that's what you do, isn't it? And I'm telling you, like, or just changing up the style just doing a little survey a day before and saying, yeah, I asked 20 members of our community yesterday, and here's the answer that they gave. Immediately, you're going to engage the people. And like you said, our prophetic tradition is filled with various methods. And I think online, it's uncharted, untapped territory because many of us, we think we're too pious for that. And then Jahils go on there and they get a big following. And then we start moaning and groaning in our own little WhatsApp groups, like, oh, this person's done this now. And then we're constantly on the back foot. Why? Why are we firefighting all the time?
We're like light years behind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Zeeshan, but like you were mentioning that whatever strategy it takes, get it to the heart. That's the essence of knowledge. على قلبك لتكون من المنذرين. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Prophet that نزل به الروح الأمين, that the Quran was revealed على قلبك, it was right to your heart, because the heart has to be affected by it. And the Prophet, when you were mentioning building relationships with people, the Prophet wasn't a capo. What I mean by that is, he didn't just say someone's doing something wrong, I'll be too nice, I won't say anything. That's also a capo. Neither was he overly aggressive, but rather he found out the best way to engage with this person without making him feel bad. Like the famous story began with the person who urinated in the masjid, and the Sahabas got up angrily and about to, get upset at him. The Prophet sat them down, made them chill, relax. But it doesn't stop there. After they all left, the Prophet called that Sahaba who urinated in the masjid, and he engaged with him. Like, why did you do this for? It's better if you didn't do it here, because it's the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he built relationships with them, right? And one of our elders, his name is Sheikh Ashraf Ali Thanwi rahimahullah, who's a great scholar of our subcontinent region. He would say that sometimes I would build a relationship with my students for an entire year, so I could finally give them one advice, right? If we're actually committed, if we're committed, if we are committed to the task of giving da'wah to people, we must strategize and plan on how this da'wah can affect them. And this is how the Prophet was da'imut tafakkur. He was constantly thinking. People that are trying to make money are constantly thinking on how to make more money from different ways, passive income. People that are trying to touch more hearts and get people close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should constantly be thinking on what can I do different, not for my name to be known or not for my channel to grow simply, but how can I get even that one youngster to pray salat? If that's the goal, Zeeshan Bhai, that's a prophetic module that will never fail to be effective in our communities. Because the back end, it's about how can I help this person, right? And mashallah, you're doing that in your way, we're doing that in our way, people are doing that in different ways, as long as the goal is to help people. In أحب الأعمال إلى الله, no, I don't want both khub. إن أحب الأعمال إلى الله أن يدخل في أخيك المسلم سرورها. The Prophet said that one of the best amals that you can do is to make the person sitting in front of you happy. So, you're doing that in your way. May Allah bless the people that brought you here.
Also, like, we're talking about a level of da'wah and a global level, but I want to also say to the family, like, don't be party poopers. Like, you come to a home, people are already arguing, and you come and agitate them even more. You should be the person that comes to a gathering and cheers them up. Like, you're sitting, your in-laws are sitting there, in-laws, and you have brothers, sisters, everyone is sitting there, and you just come and you kind of like wreck the environment. You should be like the Prophet. We should be like the Prophet. Always come in and make the environment more peaceful. Afshu salam doesn't just mean I say assalamu alaikum. I mean, come with peace. Like, live a life of peace. So, like, salam alaikum, everybody's coming in and start arguing. That's not really helping the hadith. The reality is that to live with a level of like just cheerfulness, kindness. Yes, someone fell, someone's crying, help them out, hold the child. Be a person that brings some happiness and joy to, even in a meeting. Like, diffuse the situation when it's getting heated up. I think that's important. Like, just, all this that we're talking about, we can also
use the situation. Cut the red wire.
Cut the red wire.
Hardwired.
If in doubt, just cut the red one.
Shambe, before we end, I was going to ask you, what is the hardest topic that you have tackled in a humorous way? I know recently there was one that, if I was you, I would be extremely upset with that comedian. You made a video on it. In Australia, he spoke about the Christchurch shooting and he made a joke out of it, right? Like, how do you take that and like somehow grapple with that, that statement that he made and still somehow, find humor in it to affect people, right? Like, what's the hardest topic you have tackled like that?
I think that the hardest topic is when this happened recently, when the people were ripping the Quran up and then chewing it and then spitting it out. That requires a lot of restraint, to be honest, and I think it's a testimony to our faith as well. That I think we normally bang on about peace, but as we're saying it, we're beating someone to a pulp. Islam is peace, brother. You know what I'm saying? So you're beating someone up and you're telling him his peace, and then after the guy's all bloody and everything, brother, do you believe now? Do you believe? But the thing in that situation is, it's like, and this is the ongoing theme in our discussion, like, you've tried something and it hasn't worked, but you're expecting a different result. So I know previously, whenever things like this have happened, people go to the streets, they start burning effigies, they start, going crazy, and then the media records that, and then further demonizes us and say, look how these people are reacting. So I think this was key because this happened within our own circles. um I sometimes, when you hear stuff like this, it's infuriating, you know what I'm saying. um and sometimes I have to get down the facts, and then I think the key is that you're like, okay, now I've got the facts. It's like, there's this famous Bollywood actor as well, and he's made a few meaningful movies, and they asked him about strategy, and he said, look, to educate people, you have to first, in this day and age, you have to entertain people. Very famous Bollywood actor Amir Khan, he said, in order to educate people, you have to entertain them. He's not the only one. Other people, I think, famous, even Hollywood directors have said something similar. Because people have said, oh, when are you going to make the next meaningful movie or whatnot? The key is you have to entertain people. Like, people won't necessarily remember what you've said, they'll remember how you made them feel when you said it. I think that's very important. And the media utilizes, and people utilize fear and um, and controversy quite a bit. But comedy is something that I think is not being utilized heavily enough. In fact, many comedians are very lazy. They use sexual innuendos and they use profanities. Their jokes rely on these two. I challenge you, watch any stand-up comedian. If a joke is about 50-50, they add a swear word and it just makes it more funny. I mean, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that plenty.
Don't
But
do it.
but cut the red wire. But it's incredibly lazy. It's a lazy thing to do. It's not good comedy. Like Rowan Atkinson, who's the actor behind Mr. Bean, like that's authentic comedy. You know, when Mr. Bean is in a hotel room and he makes an entire 20-minute episode of him just trying to get the TV to work. That's genius. You know what I'm saying? No wonder the guys from flipping Cambridge University, yeah, which is like Harvard and Yale here in the UK. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. A lot of these comedians, they're even Sacha Baron Cohen, the one who plays Bora and Ali G. He's from Cambridge as well, Cambridge, Oxford. So a lot of these big comedians, you have to be intelligent in order to manipulate these sorts of things. So I think that the challenge is not getting the research. The challenge is then linking it to jokes and then editing it in such a way that the joke doesn't linger. Because if the joke is there for too long, or if the facial expression is not there, it flops.
It
You know what I'm
flops.
saying? It becomes awkward. So timing has to be right. And then, yeah, to be honest, I just know that if it's too serious, I'm just doing what everybody else is doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
but listen,
yeah.
you
So
have your best friend Muhammad Hijab to help you there. He keeps it serious.
pardon?
I said you have your friend Muhammad Hijab who keeps it serious, and then you guys have a good balance.
I don't know. I don't know. People that see my stuff, they know I use a lot of Muhammad Hijab memes as well. So I've kind of
I think
I flipped that on his head as well.
before we close it up, we should hear a couple of jokes from our brother, our guest, because I feel like people want to hear his funny lines a little bit more, unless he's tired.
Which funny lines?
Anything that could just wake you up a little bit more.
You know, that's it. That's very funny. A comedian was saying this as well. He says that when he's on the street, people just come up to him and be like, "Go on, brother, tell us a joke." And he's like, well, how do I tell you a joke like here in the middle of the street? Like, he's like, what do you do? I'm a builder. Well, go on, build me a house. Go on, build me a house. What are you, accountant? Go on, flip and do something. What's 200 times 345? Go on. I guess the best comedy is it's situational comedy. It's
Exactly.
situation, like, you know what I'm saying, like something's happened, and then you kind of go over that. And the brother, he was telling me, I think recently what happened was UAE's um the kind of normalization that of relations of UAE with Israel, and kind of uh, I guess stabbing our Palestinian brothers in the back. I really wanted to cover that topic, but it was exactly that. I was like, because I was mega furious because UAE has done something similar when that whole India and Kashmir thing was going on, and they
They
gave the Prime Minister of India,
invited
yeah, they gave him a medal. So this is just utter stupidity. And yeah, sometimes I am disgusted. And like with that video, I honestly like I really wanted to cover it, but I was just
It just couldn't happen. It just couldn't happen.
yeah, I just couldn't. But I do feel that I definitely do need to, because I don't think I've covered the Palestine issue enough, because I think politics, people do find politics rather boring. But I think comedy is it's a very kind of unique way of kind of getting that across. And that's one of the things that I'm happy with, that I've managed to do that. But yeah, just stuff like that. You know, when our nations that we expect them to do, like even there was some model photo shoot within the Medina province, and then you're like, I mean, what do you say to stuff like this? You know, I'm saying, calling Nicki Minaj and these big actors to Saudi, and you're like, it doesn't make any sense. So sometimes you're just like, you know what, like I don't know.
Yeah. But Ishan,
Yeah, like sometimes you can't. You know what I'm saying?
Ishan Bajan, Sheikh Abdullah, I think we should call it a night. You know, we went through a very you know, roller coaster type conversation. Alhamdulillah, we had some comedy from you and Bajan, mashallah, of course, and then we spoke about some important issues such as mental health and depression, and
And tying shoelaces and cutting the red wire.
something like that. And then we also touched base upon how to really connect with the people around us and to appreciate everyone that is doing this work, regardless of what the image is in front of the screen. Everyone is making an effort. Every father, every mother, every older brother, every older sister, every sibling, every aunt, everyone is making effort to help people around them. Just because they don't see the result doesn't mean you should stop. Keep at it. We mentioned this before as well. It's not about how many people you affect, it's about the people that you can affect, how good you affected them. So inshallah, if you're watching, I mean, of course, Smile2Jannah has 300,000 subscribers on his YouTube page, and he's gonna give Miftaah a shout out. Alhamdulillah, may Allah bless you for that. He's looking around. No, but really, you know, it doesn't matter how many people are around you and how many people you're affecting, as long as they're actually being affected. A number is just a number is just that. It's just a number. So may Allah bless you for
We
joining
didn't.
us.
I know you're gonna go, but I just want to ask a quick question. Like, so personally, your parents are from where? Of more overseas? You said you're originally from Pakistan.
Yeah, yeah.
So your Urdu is
So
good.
my father passed away when I was one, so my mom she raised me by herself, and I didn't have any siblings. So that's
Rahmatullah alayhi.
why I think I was more kind of impressionable to the dawah. Like genuinely, I've said this before, that when I would hear the imam say stuff, like I would believe it. You know what I'm saying? Uh, and I didn't understand that. Okay, so this is a reality. Like, why? What's the issue with this? It just didn't make sense to me. I think people become desensitized to it. So, for me, I think because of the background and everything, I think, and that's the thing. I guess if someone's watching, and you've gone through stuff or whatnot, I think everybody is. I think there's a very famous saying that's been popularized of Umar radiallahu anhu, that says that sometimes people with the worst pasts make the best futures. And I definitely do say, because if you are watching and you are broken, like you divorce, or mother missing, father missing, or something's happened, you know what I'm saying? I mean, use that pain to kind of uh, to drive you into doing something positive. If you can't live for yourself, live for others. And I think everybody nowadays is suffering because of the nature of just the dunya that we're in at the moment. So I'd definitely say power through that, inshallah. And
Inshallah.
yeah, man, like I go through stuff. In fact, you were saying what's one of the challenges. I would say when you're actually going through stuff yourself, but knowing that obviously the ummah needs content as well.
You
So to
still
kind
can't
of
stop. You still
balance.
can't stop. You can't stop.
Yeah,
I,
exactly,
Allah,
100%. So yeah,
May Allah,
I
may
think
Allah,
that's the thing, bro. So may Allah bless my mother, may Allah bless my
and,
father. I think
and may
parents are
Allah,
very important, and that's the last thing that I guess I would say as well.
may Allah
Um,
give your father the
the
highest level.
du'as of my mother have really helped me, serving her and obedience to parents, no matter how unreasonable, how illogical they may be. At the end of the day, they're still your mothers. even if she's chasing you around with the sandal, and it's a size 9 sandal, and it's made from one of those hard materials, she's still your mother at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think that's very important. And those people that do have fathers, just realize that, don't, there is a big emphasis on the mother, but yeah, don't underestimate your father. It's coming from somebody that doesn't have one. And there's a saying, they say, if you want to know the value of someone or something, ask somebody that doesn't have it. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's definitely what I would say. Parents nowadays do get neglected, and sometimes parents that are watching, sometimes they're guilty as well. Like, I would say, for the first 10 years, please, 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 a lot of cases that I deal with, they stem from parents not giving time to their kids the first 10 years of their life. A lot of things. Yeah, when I speak to people, it stems from parents being busy. The mom's just constantly cooking and worried and watching dramas, and the father's just out there cabbing. I would say eat less, sleep in less, live in less, give time. Your kids want time. They don't care about your money or your phone contracts or whatnot. So please bear this in mind, and you will definitely help and invest, I would say, in your relationships with your parents and you're watching, because kids that come from broken homes, they go on to break more homes. I think that's very important to understand. Yeah, so please, invest in your marriages. If there's something going wrong, communicate with each other, go to a counselor, even if you feel you don't need it, just having a third party there as a mediator, even imams. I'm sure you guys can tell people where to go locally. I think these are small things, but I've seen them come up again and again and again. So please, just, first 10 years, spend time with your kids and your marriages, work on them, communicate, speak. Yeah, speak to your partner. Oh, sometimes we speak to everybody else but the person that needs to be spoken to. And when you speak to that person, you realize the problem was so small and insignificant to begin with, and it's solved like this. Yeah, so please, give time to each other and give time to me and subscribe, obviously. That's the most important thing of all. Saving your marriage on the one hand is important, obviously, but subscribing, I would say, if you were to compare the two, would be slightly more important.
Ah, man.
You're funny. You're so funny. May Allah reward you. Again, we all pray for your father that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him plenty of those بغير حساب.
I mean,
May Allah reward her,
mean,
your mother who single-handedly raised you, such a great gentleman, such a noble character, with such noble character, such a great example for the youth. Just we have to find you a kuri now, kuri. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala get you married with Afia also. And may Allah subhanahu
when
wa
you say
ta'ala
kuri, I think that's offensive, bro, and I'm gonna hit back at that, because kuri implies one. Yeah, kuriyan, implies numerous, and I'm open to that. I'm saying, YOLO, we only live once. I think we're allowed up to 4. So I just thought I'd just introduce a bit more controversy to your podcast. I mean, I've already brought controversy into it, so I thought.
You brought enough. May Allah bless you for that.
of course, I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you one equal to many with Afia. Inshallah.
MashaAllah,
Um, I,
MashaAllah.
I don't want to curse you. But at the same time, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as you have to know, he's Smile2Jannah, whatever he's saying about other optional, it's not going to be practical. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward you in this dunya and akhirah and save you from all the worries, inshallah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Ameen.
joining us.
Jazakallah
And
khair.
Pleasure, guys. You
call it
guys
a night.
are brilliant.
Go ahead,
Pardon?
Hisham. I was just going to tell the people that tomorrow we're having a class on the lessons from Karbala with Dr. Anjum from Toledo. It's a 2-hour session like
Yeah.
we have every Saturday. I just shared the link. Please try to join, inshallah.
Yeah, make
Please-
sure you turn up to the class, bring your pencil case and everything, and don't just laze around at the back of the class throwing paper planes at those studs, yeah? I know who you are, and cut it out. You know what I'm saying? Stop it. Behave
attention.
yourselves. And don't be sticking chewing gums underneath the table, yeah? Who do you think we are, going around and just scraping the chewing gum off? To say it though, innit?
Hisham, really, thank you so much for everything, man. May Allah bless you. And
Pleasure, guys. You
Big in
guys
the
have been awesome as well. Very tolerant, I must say.
no,
thank you
no,
so much for
we're
joining
gonna
us.
have you on again soon, inshallah.
Thank you so much.
Inshallah.
Until
next time.
Until next time.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Come to the audience. We'll see you next week, inshallah. Bijan,
Inshallah.
we'll see
Yes.
everyone next week, inshallah.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.